Welcome everybody. We're the week after San Clemente, July 1st. As a lot of people know, I wasn't able to play, but today we have a guest that was able to play, and she got a bronze medal in singles. So she'll probably be moving up to number 6 or so in the world in the PPA tour, and that's super exciting. But please, here we go, Judit Castillo.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah, so obviously I have to kind of start with the typical, like, where are you from? How do you get started with pickleball and all that good stuff? So
Okay, well, I'm originally from Spain, a small town named Teruel. So nobody knows pretty much the city, so I usually say that I'm close to Valencia on the East Coast.
That's what I say too.
Correct. And so, I was started playing tennis when I was 12, and then kind of picked it up pretty quick, and then get a scholarship to come here to the United States, play tennis in a small D1 in Northwestern State University in Louisiana. I played there for 5 years because, 2020 was COVID year, got the extra year. The graduate school started working, and then a couple, members of our tennis club, they fell in love with pickleball. They were traveling, they were playing 3.0, 3.5 level, but they were going everywhere. California, Florida, like from coast to coast. And they kind of, were like, hey, just grab a paddle and let us know, like, if you like it. So I played a tournament that the Pickleball Pro at that time in the tennis club organized, and I won it. And it was mixed doubles. So imagine, right?
Yeah.
Mixed doubles is the event that I like the least. But it was a lot of fun. And then, I was still finishing graduate school, so I didn't want to focus too much into pickleball. So I kind of like left it aside. And then just randomly played another tournament. And that time was co-ed singles. And I realized that I really, really like singles.
Co-ed?
Co-ed meaning like it was guys and girls playing against each other, right?
Okay.
So anyhow, played the tournament and won it. Had so much fun. And then in mid-October, I realized that I truly wanted to give it a try. So played a tournament in November, and then February of the next year, that was 2023, played or decided to go full time. And it was unbelievable because, pickleball gave me the visa for me to stay in the country. My visa was about to expire too, and we know, how that process is so tough.
I don't know much about it because I have double citizenship, so I got lucky in that sense. But was pickleball one of those things for you where you did it the first time and you're like, damn, I just love this thing. Like, I really want to give it a try. It was.
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for me, and I know a lot of different people too, it's like, I started playing back in 2018, and obviously the sport has evolved quite a bit. And so coming back from before, it was where, pickleball wasn't a cool thing. If you told your friends you played pickleball, you were kind of lame, right? So you're like, no, yeah, I just play tennis. I'm going to go play some tennis, and you go play pickleball with, all your 60-year-old friends, right? So it looks very different now than it did back then. But I also know, I talked to a lot of people, especially, on and off the podcast, right, where for them, like, the pickleball introduction was very, like, up and down, like, oh, like, it was fine, but I didn't play. And then, like, PPA came and I started playing, or like, oh, I played, but I didn't like it. And then, like, when the carbon fiber came out, I started liking it. So it's kind of interesting and cool to me to see how everyone just has a different story,
Yeah.
Back to, like, your tennis days, like, realistically speaking, I always get this with people, right? Like, if they're always like, oh yeah, I was really good at tennis. It's like, okay, well, if you didn't really play pro, like, you're probably not that good at tennis overall. So, like, realistically speaking, how good were you at tennis?
I was very much average.
Okay.
Yes. Let's just say, I was solid player from the baseline, typical Spaniard from the baseline. Love playing on clay. So coming here to the United States, playing on hard court, it was definitely a different type of play, So I kind of had to change my my approach into tennis, and I think like that's a lot, like, helped me quite a bit with pickleball as well. Like, I started coming up to the net more often, ground strokes were a little bit more solid than they were in Spain. But I would say, I was a solid number 5 on the lineup, small Division 1 type of player.
Yeah, for some reason I hear it's like, if you play D3 and you're number 6, like, yeah, I was so good at tennis. I mean, like, I was unbelievable. It's like, well, really were you? No, but that's funny. I'm glad you're like, at least honest about it.
Oh no, 100%, 100%.
So that transition coming from, tennis to pickleball itself, obviously you have to start playing singles first. That's kind of where everyone finds their niche,
Yeah.
right? And then how long was it until you decided like, okay, I really want to give doubles a try? And how long did it take you to find partners to play with as well?
Well, I will say it took me from the start of like playing full time until the Beer City Open last year. I think that was kind of the moment that I felt very comfortable playing doubles. I was playing with Eva Ratzikowska. She was playing super solid on the left, and the job on the right. Like if you do 3-4 things correctly, like sometimes that's all you need to do.
For sure.
But that's more or less when I felt that I could actually start playing doubles better. We went to 3 against the Kawamotos, and that's pretty awesome. And then we lost on the bronze medal match against Lauren Stradman and Georgie Johnson. And that was the moment that, hey, like if I have somebody solid on the left, like I could do this, So started playing, doubles with her, and that was probably super great choice. And then mixed doubles, I'm still trying to find that, but playing MLP with Anderson Scarpa, I feel so comfortable, like
Yeah.
he's super solid on the left, and, kind of brings that calm to me in mixed doubles that, hey, we don't need to do anything special, just keep the basics and do them right. So if I could play more tournaments with Scarpa, I would for sure love that. So, hey, here is your sign.
Dude, what are you doing?
But yes, I think that I'm still, in the search of those solid partners in mixed. But women's, I feel very comfortable with Eva.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, mixed doubles, it's difficult for everybody, right? Like, I mean, there's when you're the guy, from my perspective, it's like, well, I have to like get myself involved. I have to like touch as many balls as I can because most of the time the ball is going to the other side, right?
Correct.
And then the girl has a really tough job because you're kind of being like teamed up on like 2 versus 1, and then a lot of the times your men's partner doesn't even help, right? So
True.
you're like, like you're just making it more difficult by coming over and faking me out and telling me what to do, and it's like I'm not good at this. So it's like there's all these like nuances and weird things that come with it. But I think mixed doubles outside of like Ben, Anna Lee, and J-Dub and Georgia, like I think everybody else is just kind of like figuring out and going through the motions, right? And then
Correct.
as far as like partnership and chemistry goes, that's something that's extremely difficult to build as well, especially with how draws are nowadays.
True.
Where, you're playing a first round against somebody that, first of all, is already really good. And then secondly, they've also like played together a bunch, right? So then that's
Yes.
kind of hard to beat.
And also, like, for example, in my case, anytime that I play a PPA tournament, I'm not signed with PPA, so mixed doubles, I have to go through the qualis, right? So having to go through those 2 or 3 matches that sometimes you have really good players playing in the qualis, so you just never know if you're going to go through or not. But when you come out of the quali, you know that you're playing against a top 8 team. So it's like, okay, how am I supposed to break through, in mixed?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's one of the things, So it's kind of tough sometimes to break through whenever you have to like go through those hurdles, but eventually it will happen.
Yeah, I think it will because it did in singles, right?
True.
So yeah, there's definitely a way to do it. So this last MLP that happened, I wasn't there, but your team went 5-0,
5-0,
something like that.
Yes.
So obviously, huge accomplishment, undefeated, good job.
Thank you.
But I have to
Appreciate
give you a
that.
little bit of a hard time because obviously, there's a lot of stuff going on with MLP. That said, I think either 4 or 5 out of those 5 wins were dream breakers.
Yes, 3 out of 5 were dream breakers.
3 out of 5.
Yes.
What were the scores of the other 2?
I think we won 3-1 on the
Not
other
bad.
2.
Nice.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a beatdown in that sense.
Actually, maybe 4 out of 5 were dream breakers. Now that you're saying that.
Yeah, I thought it was 4.
Yeah, I think you're
but
right.
I don't
You're
know.
right.
So obviously, like it's still a huge accomplishment and it's amazing, right? But like I'm a very logical person. So like when I look at
Are you?
the stats itself, like you went 5-0, which is awesome. You won all your dream breakers, which is awesome as well. But for you, like in this case, it's like how do you go into the following MLP because like yes, you did go 5-0, but like the Dream Breaker is like kind of one of those things where you might want to go to it, but most people don't. You're like, okay, like we don't really know what's gonna happen, right? Because you could have, a girl like passing the guy. You could have, a guy just missing every return or whatever it is. So it gets very complicated. So that said, like, are you going to the next MLP like super confident, like yeah, have such a great team, we can't lose sort of thing, or are you more like, okay, like, it's great, we won all the Dream Breakers, but like we need to do a little bit better?
No, I mean, I'm realistic in that sense. Obviously, you don't want to go to a Dream Breaker. If you are able to win 3 or 3-1, that's huge for the team, because that means that you can have like either two gender doubles wins, which is huge for the confidence for both guys and girls when going into mix, or if it's 1-1, then when you are able to pull those wins in doubles, I think is huge, and it's funny because I was talking to Adam Stone and Dave Fleming at the PPA this past week, and Adam was like, yes, be careful, because at some point it's going to bite you. I'm like, and you know what, you're right. So, I mean, I'm going to this MLP in Grand Rapids knowing that absolutely anything can happen.
Yeah.
Like we went undefeated, yes, but because we also have the team chemistry is unbelievable in our team. So super lucky to have that. And also like we have 4 good singles players.
For sure.
So whenever you go into a Dream Breaker, knowing that, on paper, like you might be a better Dream Breaker team than somebody else, kind of gives you a little bit more of confidence, and actually like whenever you go into mixed doubles, for example, or into the first match of the day, it's like, okay, we need to win this, but if we don't and we go to a Dream Breaker, we're confident in ourselves. So I think the key is for us to get the first 2 wins, gender doubles, and then that will put a little bit less of pressure on us going into the next one. But if you look right now at the stats of every team, absolutely anything can happen, and especially right now with the changes of some teams.
Big changes.
Huge changes. Correct. Correct.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me, right? So I guess the follow-up question to that, like how did you personally do, like, statistically speaking, and obviously you're talking about winning the first 2 matches is huge, and how many of those matches do you guys, or what percentage do you guys win to the loss ratio in the gender doubles?
Yeah, I mean, Zoe and I think we went 4-1 in genders. I mean, honestly, like having Zoe on the left.
She was I was watching a little bit, and I was like, as much as I like you and as good friends as we are, I was like, dude, she's a rock star.
She's a rock star.
Yeah.
Yes. Like whenever we drafted her, I was like, who is she? So I started like looking on Instagram, just trying to find her somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my God, hold on. This is Zoe, who played with Brooke Wagner, and I think they took AL and Catherine to 3 at some point.
Pretty good too,
So I'm like, okay, well, let me ask her what side she plays. It's like left, and I'm like, perfect. I'm like, I'll just do my job on the right. So, I mean, when you have a partner like that, so solid, and yes, she knows what to do and when to do it, gives you so much confidence.
For sure.
So our win, like 4-1, it's pretty good. And the one that we lost, we had, I think, 2 or 3 match points that we just couldn't convert because, I mean, the other team really played well towards the end of that match. But that's awesome, and honestly, I feel really confident whenever we're going to play against you.
Against me?
Yes.
Why against me?
I don't know. I have the feeling that we know each other pretty well, so I kind of know what you're going to do on the court. We'll see.
Well, first of all, we can't play we can't play gender each other.
Mixed.
But when we play mixed and you're in front of me, so there's going to be a lot of things happening that you're not going to like. I can assure you that.
Okay. Well, we'll be ready.
I was so sad, like missing MLP because it's my favorite event. I think just like a lot of people. Obviously, PPA does a good job with their events, but like kind of having that team atmosphere. Like I didn't have the D1 experience or college experience that a lot of people did, but this coming from Spain, like we have like team tennis basically, right?
Correct.
Where like you grab a club and you play against another club. So like I got to basically relive that coming from Spain at MLP, and that's so fun to me. And then I wasn't able to make it, but I'll be ready for the next one.
Okay,
And
we'll be ready for you.
I can't wait. I can't wait to go out and just fuck you guys up.
Wow. Thanks.
What was the record of your men's doubles, guys?
Honestly, I did not look into those stats.
Yeah, when they lose, you shouldn't.
Oh, whatever. I think we went 2-3 or 3-2.
Okay.
One of those.
Probably 2 and 3.
Oh, well, thanks for your trust. We'll prove you wrong. No, but yeah, so,
Might be 2 and 4 soon.
well, we'll see about that. But let's see. I think Scarpa and I went 3-2. And those 3 wins actually came being 2-1 down. You know, so 2-1
Yeah.
down. And I mean, when you just go back and watch some of those points, I think we saved like a couple match points against, for example, Atlanta Bouncers.
Yeah.
That if, you know, something different changes, or like, for example, like Jaume's ball, instead of like going, you know, close to my paddle, goes slightly, you know, more towards the middle, I think that's a clean winner, and then we don't win the match, you know, and then suddenly we're 3-1 and we go against Chicago Slice that, I mean, they had really talented players, and then, you know, it's a completely different story. So I think like it's a combination of talent and luck.
Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of luck involved for sure. Actually, so talking about Jaume, so I was kind of thinking, so when I had you know, coming to the podcast, I was thinking about it, and I think we talked about it in the past too, where, you know, if Pickleball went to the Olympics and it was like some form of like MLP team, like Spain would have a pretty decent team.
Yes, it would, but let me ask you this. Will you play for Spain or will you play for the United States?
One thing I could play for the United States is if it was like MLP style to some extent, like I don't think I would get picked regardless.
Okay.
Right. So you're going to get Ben, Anna Lee. I don't know who the second guy would be. Right. And then like, so it's like, I'm not going to get picked.
Okay.
And then if it was individually speaking, I would go for Spain.
Okay.
And then team wise, I would go, you know, with Spain too. And I think I would get picked. Right. So it would be.
Then we will have a really solid team.
Yeah, we would with Jaume and I. And then who would the 2 girls be? Because I was thinking Glauca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm thinking of somebody with whom to share the court and have fun and have a great time and just, you know, chemistry in the team be great, Glauca is the one.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think we have a really solid team, because then, you know, when you start thinking about like a lot of these other countries, I can't think of anybody outside of the US and Canada that would be pretty solid.
Correct.
You know, and then when you go like France, you have Jay. It was like, who else is there? I don't really know, right? But for us, we all play here, so I think it'd be kind of cool to just, maybe we should do one of those things too. Maybe PPR and people would put it together, do like a country against country MLP sort of thing. That'd be really fun.
I mean, what do you think of a Labor Cup for Pickleball?
Yeah, no, that'd be
That
sick.
would be unbelievable. You know, the world versus Europe. That would be pretty nice.
Yeah, that'd be really cool too.
Yes.
But I mean, yeah, like realistically speaking, it'd be really tough too, because, you know, considering Ben and Annalie are, you know, so dominant, then you have J-Dub and Dylan, like those are some really, really good teams.
we don't want to face that team. No.
No, I don't think we do. And then, you know, on the other side, you would get Annalie for sure. You wouldn't get Catherine because she's Canadian.
Correct.
But, you know, and then after there's a lot of other, you know, great
Yeah, I mean,
female players.
if you look right now in the top 10 at the PPA, probably like 6 out of those 10 are from the United States.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
I mean, super. I think United States, obviously, you know, super big into Pickleball, and I think it's gonna dominate for the following years, just because, you know, everything kind of, you know, started here, and probably some of the, you know, biggest tour in the world is here right now. So people are trying to come here and play. So definitely United States will have an advantage.
Yeah, at all times for sure. Yeah. So I have an interesting question. I can't seem to. So I have a pretty good idea, but I can't seem to like really like figure it out. And I never talked about this on the podcast, right? Talk to people about it, right?
Okay.
Because when you think of like, let's say, you know, you go to the NBA, and you know the average player, it's like, you know, 6'3", 6'4", right? And
Okay.
they're a certain build, like, you know, maybe lanky, like, you know, lanky or really long arms, or like, you know, big like frame, right? When you go to tennis, like some of the best players I have ever played is like 6'1", 6'2", you know, like really solid, around like 180 pounds, somewhere along those lines, right? So like when you try and put that into like, you know, the best like pickleball player that you could find, like, you know, body specific, like speaking, like what does that look like to you on the men's and on the female side?
Well,
Like what's ideal?
Okay, so when you think of, pickleball and you think of it as kind of like a small version of tennis and kind of like badminton style, the thing of pickleball is that the amount of agility that you need to have, footwork and court coverage, it's so high. Like you need to be moving well. And what happens with like very tall people? They don't have the same agility as a little bit shorter. So
I think I have great agility.
well,
I'm
that's
just
that's,
kidding.
that's to be seen. I truly don't think so,
We
but
haven't
I
seen it
mean,
in 5 years.
somewhere to be found. I think
Yeah.
you left it in Spain,
Yeah, I
but
left it somewhere.
no, but I mean, you need that agility, and whenever you are told your footwork, your agility, your ability to change direction is
So much tougher.
not that good.
Yeah.
Correct. So when you're talking about a sport that, I mean, it's so quick, pickleball, and it's getting quicker right now. You don't need to have that height, I believe. Of course, like if you are small, like we, including me, small people, we have trouble like getting, for example, to some balls. That's why we need to be faster than sometimes the average and really like use our rotation. So we need, to have strong legs and strong core. Otherwise, like we're gonna lose, that battle. So I would say like 5. Well, I'm 5'5", so I'll include that. So 5'5" to like 5'10"
For females.
for females.
Yeah.
And then guys, I would say 5'8", unless you are Jaume, then it's okay to be 5'2".
I thought he was 4'11", but
But yeah, so like I would say like 5'10" to like, 5'7" to like 6'1", I would say.
that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I'm about 6'2". I'm on the bigger side.
Yeah.
I lost a lot of weight recently because I got really like sick out of my mind, which you don't know about this, but I got really sick for like 3 weeks.
Okay, didn't know that.
And I'll tell you about it later.
Okay.
But I got really sick. So I was basically 6'2", 220. That's what I was carrying around.
No way.
Yeah, I was 220. I'll show you like a little video flexing later. It was like crazy. I was so big. And I lost a lot of weight. I'm around like 198 or so now.
Okay.
But even like at 6'2", obviously like, I don't have the background that a lot of you guys do when it comes to training and all these things. But I'm also like, I just don't view myself as, and I could work on this, but I'm not the, I'm athletic, but I'm not like a fast guy. Like I'm more of a naturally just like really strong, like, human being, right? Like I just put on muscle like really easy. Like Nick has seen me like super skinny. He's seen me like super buff. Like, I just fluctuate. I'm all over the place. So I'm just more of a like naturally strong guy more than just naturally like fast, But for me, from my point of view, like the way that I would build, at least a male, perfect form of player would be somebody like Augie, because something that I don't have that Augie has is like flexibility. So like basically like the way he like leans into the kitchen, and I don't think he has like super long arms like I do or anything like that. But he's tall enough, and then he's like he just leans and balances so well. To me, that comes with like core strength, but also with a lot of flexibility, right? Like you have somebody like J-Dub, that it's obviously unbelievable, but he's not the tallest guy and he's not super flexible. So you're gonna have to work with whatever you have, and I totally get that. But to me, it's like if I gave J-Dub like Augie's ankles, and he could like flick literally anything, because Augie, like when you watch Augie lean, I mean, like his knees are over the kitchen, like it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, right? Yeah. And then when you watch J-Dub, like I give crap to J-Dub all the time, but he moves more than people give him credit for, right? But like when he leans,
I'm not sure about that though. But
but when he's leaning into the kitchen, it's not a huge like lean. It's just kind of like he's there and he's like really long arms, So when I think of just like overall flexibility and kind of like core strength, like I think Augie kind of takes the cake for that.
Yeah.
Just because he just leans so well, he just doesn't have like as much of like out here as like J-Dub does, right? But J-Dub is like an extreme case. So somebody like Augie would be great. And then when I think of like females, I don't think you need to be any taller than like Catherine or something like that. Like to me, that's like the perfect build.
Yeah, I mean, if you look right now, I mean, probably the tallest girls that we have are Jeannie Bouchard and Vivian Glossman. And I don't think it needs to get taller than that.
No, but I think even for tennis on the women's side, that's still like pretty tall.
Yeah.
Right. So then you're still as good of athletes they both are. Like obviously Jeannie is like on a different level, being a Wimbledon finalist.
Yeah.
But I think even at that height and like being that athletic, like you're still losing a lot of the things that you need in the pickleball court just because of that height. So I don't think she could be as fast as somebody that's like 5'7", right? Like as good of an athlete. So you're still losing, a little bit there. And then I think naturally too, like girls just have like shorter arms than guys do.
I agree with that. I just extended my arm and same thing you did, and definitely
so it's
way
like,
shorter.
Right. So even if you're really tall, like your arms are still gonna be relatively like, because you can be a guy like J-Dub, not be super tall and just have like huge arms, like laying by your knees sort of thing. But like girls is different, right? So you can be tall like Jeannie and kind of like reach, and you're like, oh wait, like they only go here. Where like guys, you can be like 5'10" and just have like long ass arms.
Yeah.
So I think around like Annalise, Catherine's like height is the way to go. And I mean, Annalise just hits the ball so hard. I would imagine.
No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine you want to be somewhere around there. One thing actually talking about Annalise, and I asked this question to somebody. I think it was Alex Strong. So when I watch Annalise, right, like first of all, she's unbelievable. But secondly, like she is playing with a really, really hot paddle, right? Like she hits the ball really hard. She has a hot paddle, right? And then like in your case, you play with a carbon fiber soft Selkirk. That's how I view it, at least.
Yes, it's soft.
So I guess my question is like, and I talked to Alex a little bit about this, but when I watch Annalise just kind of destroy everybody that she plays, like why wouldn't you guys, like the girls, be like, okay, like, let me grab a hot paddle too and see if I can match that? Because a lot of the times with Annalise, like she's winning hand battles, given her hands are really fast, right? But why not just try to mimic some of that instead of grabbing a really like soft paddle and trying to beat her with it?
Honestly, like for me, and I was thinking about this during the tournament because we're playing in California, hot weather, and I'm playing with a soft paddle.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, the amount of rotation that I need to do with my body to be able to hit the ball somewhat hard and deep, it's huge.
It's exhausting too.
Yeah, like I woke up this morning, and I'm like, oh my god, like I need to go to the spa or something. Like it gets very tough in the body, But I had the opportunity actually to play against AL this weekend. First time that I played her this year, and honestly, when I saw that I was gonna play her after the quarterfinals, I got excited. You know, it's like when you play against the best in the sport, it's an opportunity for you to see where you are at and see that type of ball. With my paddle, like doesn't matter how much I extend, my arm, how much I follow through. If I do the right technique, that ball is gonna stay in.
Yeah.
So that gives me that control. Now with a hot paddle, you need to have that control.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I see it. Like if you are able to play with a paddle that gives you so much power and you have the control to put the ball wherever you want, kudos to you because the amount of talent that you have is off the roof.
Yeah.
So everybody has different, perspectives into paddles and whatnot.
Preferences too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I was playing with a 13 millimeter, probably like for the past year and a half. And I was good with it, but I didn't have the control that I do.
Okay.
So I think I'm leaning more towards a more controlled paddle and just me giving, that power to the ball through my body. So that means I need to go twice a day to the gym. I'll do that, But honestly, like I played against AL this week and I didn't feel, that the paddle was like different or anything in that sense, I think like her ability to hit the ball and her court awareness is so good that she's just unbelievable.
Yeah. No, I agree. I don't think she has anything different than anybody else. It's probably the same thing as like Christian plays with, right? Like it's basically the same stuff. But yeah, she's good enough. I think she could probably win it with about any paddle,
Yeah.
But to me, the idea of watching the number one player in the world, because her paddle, I mean, just like the Yola paddle is hot, right? Like her paddle's hot. Like it's just, it's just a poppy paddle, right?
Yeah.
So or like an Engage, it's all
Yes.
similar.
Yes.
So to me, like the idea of watching the number one just kind of run through people with, a power paddle instead of a control paddle, and then there's like, in this case, you and a lot of other different girls that prefer a control paddle. I do understand it. That said, I feel like, you kind of might want to look into like what the number one player in the world is doing too, because I mean, they're doing it for a reason.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
That's how I view it. So that's kind of like, I mean, you did answer the question, but I'm still like, I just think all the girls should play with a really hot paddle.
I mean, yes, but also depends on your style,
Yeah.
Like, for example, I started liking to like roll a little bit more the ball instead of like trying to drive through people, like gets to a moment that unless you are Chris Hayworth, which he this weekend like did an unbelievable job with, driving the ball through and just setting the point up so good. Unless you are that type of player, like for me, it will be so hard to like be able to create those angles with a poppy paddle. So I might need to give it a try because I don't think I ever had one,
Yeah.
So I'll see how that goes. But I don't know. I mean, I think, I'm good with that control, but I'll, just give me one paddle and I'll give it a try.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, totally get it. No, I 100% agree. What are your thoughts on the Vulcan Ball?
Well, that's an interesting ball because sometimes it bounces and you just don't know what the ball is gonna do. So kind of makes you be ready all the time.
Yeah.
I think it's good that the ball doesn't break as often as the Dura did, but it kind of like deforms. So whenever that happens, like the ball you just don't know. Good thing that we're changing the ball every game.
Really, I heard so many different theories about that.
I mean, okay, so it's different because when you go for a full game playing with a ball that by the end of the game is a complete different ball, and then you go again to a new ball, I kind of feel that you have to adjust to it.
Yeah.
But if you think of it like tennis is, when we play kind of with a newer ball, I think we're able to do a little bit more things with it.
For sure.
But I mean, obviously, money runs this pickleball world and the whole world itself, So I will understand companies, putting some investment into it.
Yeah.
I just believe that we will need to figure out a better system for us to be able to play with a ball that is more consistent. And I mean, we saw this weekend, for example, some of the bounces that happened in Ben Jones' match.
Yeah.
It's like...
Shout out to Memes for Pickleball. That was a really good video.
Yes, thank you guys for that. But I mean, when a ball does that and it kind of like interferes with the game, I think we should look into it.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it makes that big of a difference, right? Like,
correct.
Imagine, like, obviously, if it's like a 0-1 or something, like it's not that big of a deal. But like, I mean, you can go and find I think we're talking about the same exact point against Guangdong, I think it is, right?
Yeah, on the second game.
Yeah, in the second game. But if that's like a match point and that's how you lose the point, or if you're 9-9 in the third and you're battling it for like an hour and a half or, whatever it takes, and then that happens and then now it's like 10-9 and you're down match point against the serve, like that just can't happen.
Correct.
Or it needs to be redone or whatever. You can't just lose a point like that. You know what I mean? And then the one thing that's really interesting to me as I was watching some pickleball yesterday, and obviously I love to watch Ben. To me, he's like the best player in the world, kind of by a long shot, even though I think J-Dub is also unbelievable. That said, like I was watching him play, whether it was like men's, double, singles, or mixed, and he's actually been taking his third shots like kind of like a short hop, like a half volley, and just kind of like getting in as soon as he possibly can. And, I'm really good friends with a lot of people on tour, like J-Dub, Del Pablo, and we were just kind of chatting about it over the phone. And, like, we were all just kind of like, I mean, the only reason why he would do that is because he just doesn't trust the bounce. So instead of, like, letting it bounce and go to the side, he's like, okay, I'm just going to take it as soon as it bounces and see what happens, right? So I think it's an extremely hard skill to kind of, like, learn and get comfortable with.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'll probably show you in a little bit just to kind of see what I'm talking about. But honestly, at the same time, like, I don't think you should have to. Like, I think you should have to like model your game as you see fit, but I don't think you should have to like model your shots and all this stuff just because a ball does something.
Correct.
That's kind of high, especially when it's like the number one player in the world. Like, if you're like number 30 and then you're just messing around and you want to try different things and whatever, like, I totally get it. But when you have like somebody go from one tournament to the other, and like now he's the number one player in the world is now just hitting a third completely different than he was one tournament ago because he can't trust the ball bounce. Like, that to me is just crazy.
Yeah, and honestly, when Ben talks, like, we listen.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Yeah.
Did you say that too?
I said that once. Yeah.
Okay, well.
I said it when Pablo was here. That's exactly what I said.
Well, great minds think alike. Yeah. No, but like, honestly, when you have, like, I mean, he might not be on top of the rankings right now, but he obviously is the GOAT.
Yeah.
So whenever you see him, say something or do something, you look into it. You're like, okay, why is he doing that, or why is he saying that? Because at the end of the day, he knows the game like the palm of his hand.
Yeah.
I don't know if you say that in English like that or not, but
yeah, in Spanish we do. So I know what you're saying.
Okay.
But
Well, thanks. Yeah. Everybody just he knows the game very well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like when he does something, it's for a reason, and I think that we all should look into it. If he doesn't trust the bounce of the ball, and he's been on the game for so long, we need to look into it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, talking about the doubles game. What are your thoughts on Dylan being number one in the world? That's pretty impressive.
I mean, I don't think I could be any happier than like Dylan being number one in the world, because he's been playing for longer than I have.
Okay.
But he also was a 3.5, like back in the day. Like I think he was 14. He's like a year or two younger than me. I was 18 when I started. He was 14, and we've been to a lot of this stuff we've been through a lot of this stuff together. Especially like when the PPA started and we played some tournaments together. When the APP started, we played a bunch there together too. We've won together. We've lost together. He's beaten me down a bunch of times. I beat him like a couple times like years ago. So to me, like, it's, first of all, like, it's amazing that somebody like that, that's that you're such good friends and close friends with. Like, to me, he's family, and his family is family to me. Is number one in the world. Secondly, like, I couldn't think of anybody in tour right now aside of myself, but I can think of anybody on tour right now that would be a better fit than Dylan to be number one, because I mean, I think Ben is awesome for the sport and we need Ben around, but I also would love for somebody like Dylan, that a lot of times, obviously we're all selfish to some extent, but somebody that is also going to have the best interest for everyone else, and not that Ben doesn't, but I think Dylan would take it to like a different, form of level if he was ever given the chance. I think that would be huge, and then whether he's number 20, whether he's 18 years old, whether he's not 24 and being number one, like he's never changed, right? Like, we've been together being like, hey, like, we have to go to Chipotle tonight. We don't have any money. And like, now he's like making a bunch of money and hanging out, and he still stays at a Airbnb with me in the middle of like Houston or Dallas, you know what I mean? And we like kick it together. We're like doing bunk beds. Like, so like, just to have somebody like that as like the top of the ranks, I feel like it's what you want. Somebody super humble that's not going to change. Even yesterday, like, obviously I made the post because I'm super happy for him. But he's like in Catalina Island with a friend hanging out, and he's just giving me a call. It's like, what's up, man? I'm like, hey, what's up, bro? Like, dude, you're the man. What's going on? So it's like, you want people like that. And I'm not saying, then again, I'm not saying Ben isn't, and I also wouldn't know because I don't have that friendship and close relationship with Ben as I do with Dylan. But that said, like, from my own experience, I don't think there's anybody else that's better fitted than Dylan right now that's just gonna, just be such a cool dude, be number one, be super chill about it. I was on the phone with him. I was like, Dylan, like, you should just randomly go up to people and be like, hey, what's up? I'm Dylan Frazier, number one in the world in pickleball. Just introduce yourself like that, So, no, very good question. But yeah, no, that said, like, we're coming up to the time. Thank you so much for coming. Super happy to have you. Just a quick shout out to My sponsors, obviously, You Dripping, Hesacor, Head, and Stack. Please use DJ Young code at the end. Also, thank you, Nick, for being here like always. Thank you, Christian, in the MK Lab. Conversations with DJ, and if you want to thank anybody, say hi to your mom, whatever you want.
Well, I'll use the time and say, hello to, everybody in Spain. I know they are huge supporters of you and I. So, hello to all of them. Hola, gracias por ver el podcast. And just, thank you to everybody following and the sponsors. I think they make this journey happen, and super cool to be here today. So thank you for the invite.
Yeah, thank you. Let's go. Oh, like and subscribe. Let's go.
I was